6. Skyrest. A note from the author. This story is based in the When Tomorrow Calls world and contains minor spoilers. It's an excerpt I adapted from the book What Have We Done, and I believe works as a short story. If you're planning on reading the futuristic thriller series and want to avoid the minor spoilers in this story, please email me at janita@firefinchpress.com and I'll send you the prequel novella as a gift. Skyrest. You ready for your first shift, Girdler? Lewis stands at Zach's sliding door, muscles flexing, his grey beard is neatly clipped. The bell rings. I think so. Zach doesn't mind the idea of hard work today. It might help with his nerves. His mentor gestures for him to follow, and they join the rest of the prisoners as they stream out of the residence and into the adjacent factory. Zach calls it a factory, but to be honest, he still doesn't know what products Skyrest makes. He receives a few mildly interested looks from the others, but most of them ignore him. Soldier ants, worker bees, all in the same soft cotton kit. What is the actual work? That's not an easy one to answer, says Lewis. Zach laughs without humour. What do you mean? It's not like we're working on an assembly line, right? We're not manufacturing Hong Kong. This isn't bloody Bilkin. It's a crim colony, a penal labour camp. But what do we do? They identify what needs doing, and they funnel us accordingly. But what? What work? Why is Lewis being so evasive? Anything. Anything that requires labour as long as... Yes, as long as we're not seen. By who? By the clients. By the pretty people in the honeycomb. We're like the midnight elves. You know, the little crims who steal inside and do all the work. Like an invisible workforce, you know. The ghost in the machine. No one wants to see the elves. It breaks the spell. They keep walking. So, give me some examples, so that I know what to expect. Lewis sighs. Zach can see him thinking, I'm too old for this shit. Okay, so, the day before yesterday, we were chopping wood for the incinerator. The day before that, we were creating seed eggs. Before that, chopping bloody onions. Before that, repotting saplings. Birch, I think they were. Silver birch. What are seed eggs? Lewis holds up a hand to stop him from asking more questions. You're going to be in here a long time. If you want to be my assigned initiate, you're gonna need to learn some patience. Sorry, says Zach. I'm not mad. I'm just telling you like it is. They trot into an artificial greenhouse. There are no windows because it's deep underground, but the ceiling is covered in thousands of low-glow bulbs, and the plants, thousands upon thousands of plants, reach up to their fake suns like disciples who don't yet know they've been swindled. They line up along the rows of aeroponic vegetation. How many are there of them? Zach does a quick head count. 200? Each row seems to contain a different plant. Theirs has a purple flower. Slow and steady, says Lewis, tapping his lapel. Slow and steady wins the race. Zach looks at Lewis's lapel. Hey, you've got another stripe. Lewis's eyes twinkle. Close now, he says. Real close. I think you had something to do with it. I doubt it, says Zach. You filled in the mentee satisfaction report, right? Well, there was a form. It asked how I would rate my initiation experience. Right, says Lewis. I think that's what tipped the scales. I mean, I knew I was close. What's the first thing you're going to do? Asks Zach. You know, when you're up there. I'm gonna go for a swim. Did you see that swimming pool? No, says Zach. I thought pools were illegal. Not in state institutions. Not when they service a community like this. You saw it? Oh, yeah. Oh, man, that pool. As blue as the bloody Atlantic Ocean. I haven't been for a swim since 2009. That does sound pretty good. And then I'm going to have a meal. A proper meal. And a Cinecola with ice. Real ice, not fake ice. I don't think they make that anymore. Sinicola, I mean. Lewis looks disappointed. Listen up, residents, says a familiar voice from the front of the greenhouse. A medium close-up of Bernard's toad-skinned face beams into a hexagonal-framed hologram above them. There's a hush. We're going to be spraying the plants today. It's important that you spray them hard enough to dislodge any insects. So they've given her a job to do. But not hard enough that you damage the leaves or uproot the organism. Bernard nods at the creep holding the holocam, and they track down to her hands, where she demonstrates the correct procedure. Zack can't help cringing when there's a close-up of her fingers and her broad, flat fingernails. She was in his room again last night. He heard the door slide open, and something inside him shriveled up like it would never be the same again. And now, she's here to stay. What are these plants anyway? He whispers to Lewis. It's bloody alfalfa, says Lewis. Can't you tell? Once the plants are sprayed and inspected for any malformations or disease, the workers move on to other things. Some go to help in the kitchen, some the laundry. Zack and Lewis are enlisted to saw and chip wood, along with another 10 men. What surprises Zack most is how much space there is down here. The outside building, that white honeycomb shard planted into the earth, is the tip of an iceberg, an anthill that is rooted deeply and widely under the surface. Be careful, warns Lewis, looking at the humming machine. These are industrial chippers. They'll chew off your arm if you daydream. They start feeding the appliance with the hunks of wood. It makes short work of even the hardest wedges of timber. They both grunt and sweat with the effort of hauling the heavy pieces. No offense, but aren't you too old for this kind of work? Zack is only half joking. Sod off, says Lewis. They both know he is the stronger of the two. It's gratifying labor, and the air fills with a dusty forest fragrance that penetrates their paper masks. They bag all the wood chips and pack them into trolley cages, which are wheeled away by another team. They sweep the floor till it's spotless, so that no one would be able to say there were 12 men in here making whole trees disappear. After an exhausting 8 hours, the bell rings, and they stroll back to their residence, stretching sore muscles and rubbing dirt off their skin. Bernard follows them from behind. Zack ruffles his hair, and sawdust falls onto his shoulders, and his cuff beeps green. Hey, says Lewis, the gods approve. Zack frowns at him, and Lewis slaps him on the back. You've got your first credit. You get a reward. What are you going to choose? I don't know. You don't know? Lewis wipes his arms and hands with a damp rag. I guess I'll look through the catalogue. You need to set up your wish list, man. Most of us have lists a mile long. You don't even have an idea? Zack still doesn't have an appetite, and there's nothing he's seen in Lewis's room that he wants to replicate. But then he gets it. A book, says Zack. It's exactly what his atrophying brain requires. I'll request a book. Lewis shakes his head. Sorry, man. Down here, no books allowed. The next day, Zack and the other Skyrest prisoners are led into the hall to work. They are given special protective gear. Thin plastic overalls that crunch when you walk, wide face masks and biolatex gloves. Even though they are still deep underground, the air is less stale than usual. The prison guard with grey hair and a voice like dusk stands in front of them. His name is Tloli. The younger guard, a blonde, fresh-faced assistant, films him so that his face is broadcast in the hexagonal holoframe above the residence. Good morning, he says, and the men mutter their replies. You'll be wondering why you've been given extra kit. It's because we're dealing with a new substance today. It's part of our experimentation in a new cutting-edge technology, and we need your help. It's not without risk, though, so please be careful and keep your prophylactics on at all times. There is a murmur of interest. Virgin tasks down here are few and far between, so getting to do new work seems like something to look forward to. The men are instructed to move towards the trestle tables, and the day leaders peel away the covers to reveal large tubs of dark brown organic matter. Now, for those of you with foraging experience, says Tloli, and there are a few laughs, you'll know that this," he holds up a large lily-shaped charcoal-coloured mushroom, "is called a black trumpet, cornucopioides, also known as black chanterelle and trumpet of death." Zack studies the tub in front of him. He can see the fungi between the humus and decayed leaves. "Now, mycologists would usually tell you there's nothing to fear from a black chanterelle, and they'd be right. In fact, these mushrooms, in the wild, are quite delicious and will do you no harm." Coley holds up his specimen, and the camera zooms in. "However, this batch of fungi has been adapted by our bioburial scientists, who spliced its helix with demistid." The room is quiet. "Anyone?" A few frowns and headshakes. "Demistid. Skin beetle. A demistid is a flesh-eating beetle." Zack's skin crawls with imaginary insect legs. "So, I introduce to you Carnocraterellus cornucopioides." "A man-eating mushroom," says Zack. Coley looks pleased. "Correct." The men murmur. Coley talks them through the process. Find the mushrooms, identify the mycelia, harvest the spores, store them safely in the envelopes or soil trays provided. "Please work carefully," he says, "and whatever you do, don't breathe the spores in. As you can imagine, you don't want these suckers seeding your lungs." Later, in his room, Zack lies on his mat and swipes through the Skyrest reward catalogue. What he really wants now is sleeping pills, but those are contraband too. He hasn't had a good night's sleep since his arrest. Although, even if he had the pills, he probably wouldn't take them. Only one thing is worse than Bernard watching him sleep, and that's not even knowing that she's watching him sleep. He might request a bed, or a decent mattress at least, but those cost a lot more than the 1 credit he has. He'd have to save up if he wants a big purchase like that. He sees a small mirror advertised. Perhaps he should get that for above the sink. He doesn't know what he looks like anymore. Maybe it's best to keep it that way. Prison pajamas and artificial light, shrinking brain. Thinking about looking at himself every day in these conditions make him decide against it. He imagines himself as hollow-eyed and hollowed-boned. That's what it feels like anyway. He scrolls and scrolls until he eventually finds something to buy. The app congratulates him on his redemption, if only it were that easy, and informs him to expect delivery in the next open chute. The dinner bell rings, and Zack joins Lewis's table in the cafeteria. Lewis points at him and says, "New guy, Girdler," for the benefit of the other prisoners. The men shoot him cursory glances. 1 or 2 mumble hi. "You're not eating?" asks Lewis. Zack shakes his head. "Not hungry." "You gotta eat." "What is it?" asks Zack. "Who bloody knows?" says Lewis, and some of the other men laugh. Zack grabs a tray and chooses the least unattractive option at the counter. Some kind of tofurkey with grey sauce and matching mash. Some fresh green and purple leaves on the side that make the food look slightly less dire. Back at the table, he takes a bite of mashed potato, or at least he thinks it's mashed potato. It's difficult to swallow. "You'll get used to it," says Lewis. "I doubt it," Zack replies. "Soon, you'll be eating decent food," says a shiny scalped man to Lewis. He wiggles his eyebrows at the colourful stripes on Lewis's lapel and points his fork up to the ceiling, smiling. There is grey mash in his teeth. "Ah," says Lewis, clearly relishing the thought. He's been working down here a long, long time and was so close to earning his release. "I heard they've got an artisanal ice cream shop up there," says a man who looked like a professional wrestler. "There are like 100 different flavours, and if they don't have the flavour you want, you can make a request and they'll make it for you." "Ah," repeats Lewis. "I'd ask for salted butterscotch," says the wrestler, "in a sugar cone." "Black chocolates," says the bald man, but there's not much hope in his voice. He only has 2 stages on his lapel. "80s bubble gum," says Lewis. "Remember that? Summers at the South Coast, blue ice cream dripping down your chin." For a moment, They all look lost in their memories of childhood treats and open skies. "And you'll forget all about us," says Baldy. "I bloody won't," says Lewis. "Yes, you will," says the wrestler. "And you should." "I'm ready," says Zack to Lewis as they finish their game of table tennis. "Hmm?" Lewis is buoyed by the dinner conversation about his inevitable elevation, and Zack wants to take advantage of his good mood. "You said you'd tell me what Skyrest does when I was ready." Lewis scoffs. "You're not ready. You've barely been here 5 minutes. Lewis, please." He puts his bat down and takes a long, hard look at Zack. The ball vibrates on the table, then comes to a stop. Eventually, Lewis capitulates with a shrug. Lewis and Zack enter the small, dim cinema room, and Lewis dials up the lights, interrupting the prisoners watching an old nature documentary. "Hey," some of them say, before realizing who it is. "Sorry to interrupt, gents," Lewis says, pausing the film. "We need the room." The men complain under their breath, but no one dares confront Lewis. They stand up and stroll out. Zack flips through the available titles on DVD. The titles are milquetoast. No new releases, no sex or violence. Just old wildlife shows, clean sitcoms, and vintage feel-good films. He picks one out, cracks open the cover, and inspects it. Eternal sunshine of the spotless mind. Lewis laughs at the old tech. "When's the last time you saw one of those?" Even the dusty DVD player looks 100 years old. Lewis changes the amp source, then types in a code to unlock a Skyrest-branded video. When prompted to confirm, he looks at Zack. "You sure you want to know this shit?" Zack nods. "It's like bad porn," he says. "What?" "I mean, it's not X-rated, but like bad porn, it's not something you can't unsee." Zack nods again, and Lewis purses his lips and clicks play. They grab a seat in the front row, and the film begins. The initial shot is drone footage of the architecture that rises a mile above them, flattering angles of the white honeycomb shard among the deep green of the surrounding forest, and a woman's honey-tongued voiceover begins. "Welcome," she says, "to Skyrest." The voice sounds like Galen's, the attractive woman who had overseen his admission and appointed Lewis as his babysitter. An ultra-realistic animation of a tree falling in a forest occurs. The tree soon greys and shrinks as it breaks down, and new growth, bright green saplings, shoots up from the nurse log. "It's easy to become disconnected from nature when you're living a high-speed urban life," says the calming voice. "Part of this disconnect is thinking of death as an inherently negative experience. But what makes Skyrest different from other urban vertical cemeteries?" Unseen things click into place, one after another in Zack's mind, like someone's shuffling a deck of cards. Skyrest offers clients a variety of burial options. Hexagonal frames appear on the screen to illustrate the available alternatives, and the first frame is enlarged. Inside is a tombstone. Our traditional burial contains all the hallmarks of a conventional burial, except that it takes place on one of our sky stories. You're welcome to visit the resting place of your loved one any time of day or night. The next frame is an urn on a mantelpiece. If you end up selecting customary cremation, we have a variety of options to deal with the ashes. These include, amongst others, having them mixed with oil paint and commissioning an artist to create a unique work for you, having them distilled and turned into jewelry, or having them buried under the root ball of a sapling that you can take home and plant in your garden. Seems sensible. So far, Zack doesn't see what the big deal is. If you don't want to keep the remains, we also offer water cremation. Okay, that's a new one, but still, hardly controversial. These are all popular burial solutions, says the speaker, but none of them are environmentally friendly. And at Skyrest, we strive for a carbon double negative footprint. If it's also important to you to leave the world causing minimal damage, you may consider our Earth-friendly options. Zack's ears prick up. The Skyrest logo animates on screen. Skyrest introduces Recomposition, TM, your doorway to immortality. Immediately, Zack thinks of zombies. Does this place bring dead bodies back to life? A shameful amount of bank has been spent on immortality tech. But as he thinks it, he knows this isn't that kind of place. Everything he's seen has been deep green and eco-devoted, and he's pretty sure zombies don't fit into that equation. For most people, the suddenness and permanence of death is difficult to accept, especially when it's a loved one. With Skyrest's trademark recomposition technology, your spirit can live on by nurturing the earth that sustained you during your lifetime. Zack hardly blinks. Traditional burials are anything but natural. Bodies are preserved with the known carcinogen formaldehyde, then sealed in caskets that further embalm them, taking up valuable land and leaching poison into the ground. Even cremations are not without environmental damage. A single cremation pumps a toxic cocktail of chemicals into the air. In fact, our legal team here at Skyrest predicts that both of these options will be banned by 2040. Recomposition TM offers a positive solution to those looking for an earth-friendly burial. The animation of the nurse log returns. Recomposition TM interlaces the cycle of life into the meaning-hungry, time-starved urban fabric and reminds us that, as humans, we're deeply connected to the natural ebb and flow of Mother Earth. A young woman is lying on a forest floor, asleep, dead, naked, apart from some strategically placed autumn leaves. Her long blonde hair is styled against the dark ground. More and more fallen leaves cover her pale skin until she is no longer visible. The earth has swallowed her up. There you go. Lewis pauses the video. Happy now? Yes, says Zack. No. I don't understand what the big deal is. Why the secrecy? What can I say? It's death. People get cagey. How does it work? You want me to draw you a bloody picture? Can we watch to the end? Zack already knows the answer and is frustrated. He kicks the cabinet of DVDs. He just wants answers. Is it too much to ask? Lewis turns off the screen. You're not ready for the end. I'm sorry about last night, says Zack to Lewis over breakfast. Lewis raises his white eyebrows at him and motions for him to sit. No worries. I expected it. It's always difficult for initiates to process the work they do here. Lewis pushes his plate away. Zack sits and looks at the abandoned food. No egg omelette? Dutch baby pancake? He can't stand the idea of eating food he can't identify. No one's perfect, right? We've all done wrong, inside of here and out. Right. But there is one thing. Lewis traces a scar on the table. And I don't mean to offend. Zack looks at him. Have you looked in the mirror lately? What? You look like shit, man. Zack finger-combs his hair, rubs his eyes. I haven't been sleeping. I can see that. Your eyes have more baggage than a supermodel. I actually think I feel worse than I look. Not possible, says Lewis, and throws his head back laughing. A few residents stop eating their omelette pancake to look at him, and Zack laughs too. Any advice? He asks. Advice? Sure. Get a bloody mirror. Zack laughs. Funnily enough, I did consider it, but being down here is torturous enough without having to look at my own reflection every morning. No, seriously, says Lewis. You'd better start sleeping and start eating. The way you're looking, well, he gestures at the building above. If you're not careful, they'll be using you in their next video. The now familiar siren sounds, letting them know that their work shift is beginning. The men sigh, bin what's left on their plates, and lope out of the cafeteria. This time, they're led to a hall Zack has not seen yet. A warden shows them how to repot plants that have grown out of their containers. Roses, hydrangeas, maples, trailing Boston ivy, Virginia creeper. Considering yesterday's video, he reckons taking a thriving Boston ivy plant home instead of ashes is a good thing. You could have this urn of ashes in your house that you don't know what to do with, or you could have this plant that can cover a whole wall, a whole building, and flicker from season to season between green and red. A daily reminder that the person you've lost is not really lost at all. Or a rose bush, the blooms of your beloved. They tap the plant's containers to release the roots, then ease them into the soft new soil. It's therapeutic work, and Zach starts relaxing for the first time since being here. They play classical music over the sound system. His shoulders unknot, his brain untangles. After the repotting, they have to shift some soil in wheelbarrows. Then they're instructed to sweep up and bag the sawdust and kindling in the wood chipping room. The exercise feels good. The work is easy and monotonous and becomes like meditation. He keeps checking his cuff for his next reward and wonders how long it'll be till he gets his first stripe on his lapel. This place isn't so bad. Then he corrects himself. It could be worse. After they've showered and they're waiting for dinner, they hang out in Lewis's room. Lewis is still in good spirits, doing arm lifts and eating protein pretzels. His bare chest ripples with muscles a man half his age would be proud to have, and his tattoo seems darker than usual, the colours richer. The illustration seems to pulse on his skin, as if the dragon is alive. "Getting ready for that swim?" Zach asks. "I can taste that water, you know. I can feel it streaming through my hair in that first dive, cooling my scalp." "Going to be a good feeling," says Zach, "after all this time." "Oh, yes." He drops down from the bar, then downs half a bottle of water. "Oh, yes." Lewis offers him the Skyrest branded packet of pretzels. Zach hesitates. "Go on," says Lewis. "They're not going to bite you." Zach reaches his hand inside the bag, grabs a few, then sprinkles them on his other palm. Tentatively puts one in his mouth. It's not too bad. "Will you tell me the rest of it?" asks Zach. "The rest of what?" "The rest of the video. Tell me how they do it." "All right," he says, sitting down. "Sure. Why the hell not?" Zach eats another pretzel. They're quite good, actually. "What do you want to know?" "Everything." "Ever heard of Ouroboros?" asks Lewis. "Your tattoo," says Zach. "The serpent that devours its own tail." Zach knows the ancient Egyptian circular symbol of eternal return that has been reused and recycled by philosophical trains from Greek magic to alchemy to Kundalini health goths. "Right. So they have this system going here. It's completely self-sustaining. Everything you eat, wear, or touch in this place comes from this place. It is its own immortality." "Recomposition." "Recomp's the main technology, yes. There are others on the menu, and even more that they're experimenting with." "How does the recomp work?" "Recomp is when they take the nitrogen-rich material." "The what?" "The nitrogen-rich material. That's what they call it." "You mean the bodies? The dead bodies?" "Yes, that's what it means. So they take the nitrogen-rich, the bodies, and place them inside a mound of carbon-rich material, so that's the sawdust, and the wood chips. They add a bit of moisture, some extra nitro on top of it to get it going, maybe some alfalfa." Zach remembers the pretty purple alfalfa blooms they had worked on during a previous shift. The alfalfa on his plate yesterday. What had Lewis said about them? That they were a feminine herb, an element of the earth, and especially good on sandwiches. "Then the microbes do their thing. The microbial activity gets the pile cooking. Their heat kills the bad shit, the pathogens. That's what you can feel." "What do you mean?" "We call it our underfloor heating. The warmth from the middle of the building. That's the core. That's where it all happens. Bodies in the top, compost out the bottom." Human compost. Saliva rushes into Zach's mouth. He tries to swallow his revulsion. "Then they cure the compost. Sometimes the clients want to take the compost home. They plant a tree or whatever, or they let someone here do it for them. They plant one of those saplings in the forest at the back, put a tag on the tree or a bench with a silver plaque underneath it. But most of the compost goes unclaimed. That's the stuff we used for the aeroponics. It's what we use to grow everything in here. Zack spits out the pretzel. Louis laughs. Yeah, that's pretty much the standard reaction. Zack looks around the room. His uniform, the linen, Louis's snacks, the soap, the toothpaste, all emblazoned with the Skyrest logo. Yes, says Louis, even the toiletries. Hemp oil and miswak and Homo sapien. So best get used to it. Zack reaches for his water and rinses his mouth out, spits the water into Louis's basin. Once you've had time to process it, you'll see that it makes complete sense. It's the full circle, you know. None of that embalming shit. No poisoning the well. None of that hanging on to dead bodies. If you think about it, being attached to a dead body is way weirder than letting it go back to the earth, you know. No waste, no harm. Just energy doing its thing, going round and round as it should. The process is a beautiful thing. Does everyone in here? Do the rest of the prisoners know? Most of them. Some have been red flagged. Admin decided it's best not to tell them. The truth doesn't serve everybody. Zack feels ill. The bell rings for dinner time. Zack is in the forest, dark as dread. He's running from something. Someone. The leaves hit his face, the thin black branches whipping his cheeks and arms as he races away from the danger. Where is he? This must be the forest that surrounds the crim colony. Has he escaped? He runs despite the dark, despite not being able to see more than a meter in front of him, despite the soft mounds of earth that threaten to swallow his feet and twist his ankles. He runs and runs, despite not having any energy left in his limbs. Panic pushes him forward, makes his legs feel weightless. He's wearing his suit and tie. He doesn't know how. He doesn't know in which direction he's running. He'll keep going until he reaches the edge, then strategize when he gets there. He needs to leave the threat behind. But there's a problem with his plan. Or rather, a problem with the forest. Because he keeps running, but he's not getting anywhere. He can sense that despite his frantic pace, he hasn't moved an inch. An enchanted forest. A cursed forest. All of a sudden, he's flying through the air and lands in a shallow ditch full of leaves. The air is knocked out of him. He touches the soil on the banks that surround him, and he understands it's not a ditch at all. It's way too deep. It's a rectangular hole, 6 feet down. A grave. The realization doesn't help to get the oxygen he needs into his lungs. The air is thick with the aroma of humus and clay. Leaf mold. Too thick to breathe. He scrabbles to climb out of the hole, but he can't get a foothold. He makes it halfway up the bank of soil when the rock gives way and he falls back down. He collapses hard onto his back, and the shock of it keeps him lying there until his head stops buzzing. But in the place of the buzzing is another sound. A whispering, a rustling, an animal ticking. Hundreds of insect legs. There's a pinprick on his ankle, then on his hand. He jumps up and shakes off the things. One is trying to get inside his ear, and he swipes at it with a yell. Another sharp pain on his leg, and then there are stings all over as the beetles swarm over him. Zack screams as he tries to sweep them off. As if sensing his panic, they bite down. They want to get their feed before their dinner disappears. He starts to feel the wetness of the trails of blood mixing together. His fingers frantically scrape at the walls of black soil, and one of his nails tears off. Eventually, he finds a root to grab onto, and uses all the strength the adrenaline gives him to haul himself up and out of the death cube. Zack pulls off what's left of the flesh-eating beetles and crunches them underfoot. He's dripping blood. Once he's sure he's free of the bugs, he puts his hands on his knees and waits for his lungs to catch up with him. The danger is still present. Some unseen evil in the forest. But there's also the danger of him passing out, and then there'll be no way he can get out of here alive. How did he get here? All he can remember is... There's a sound behind him. A dead branch snapping. He snaps around, his heart already trying to judder out of his body. Zack tries to make out who made the noise. He starts reversing and backs into a wide tree trunk. He puts his hands out to steady himself against the bark, but as his palms touch it, he recoils. It doesn't feel right. He turns towards it and yells in fright. Bits of bone are embedded in the bark. Bone bark. The branches further up are cartilage and sinew. There is some hair, some cheekbone, teeth. Fragments of the pale woman from the video are part of this tree. An eyeball swivels to look at him, and he yells again, wants to run, but his horror keeps him rooted to the spot. A shaft of moonlight casts the softest light on the tree, and Zack realizes it's not the woman from the video. It's him. Zack is yelling into the dark. A large hand is covering his mouth. Spongy cold skin over his fevered jaw. His eyes click open. It's Bernard trying to suffocate him. He tries to fight her, but she has the advantage of being above him and uses all of her heft to pin him down, knee on shoulder. He struggles and struggles, but is made weak by the starvation, the sleep debt, the forest nightmare. Zack tries to call for Lewis, but her hand cancels out any trace of his voice. Gradually, he stops struggling, thinking she will kill him now. She'll kill him, and would that be that bad? But as he stops fighting her, she eases off too, until there is just one soft hand on his mouth. The other goes to her own. An index finger crosses her lips, telling him to be quiet. Shh, Bernard says. The day's shoot delivery arrives with a neatly wrapped rewards parcel for Zack. The bald resident, Spud, they call him, hands it over. Congratulations, Spud says, slapping Zack on the shoulder. Zack thinks he means for the reward, but then he looks down at what Spud is eyeing. He has a colour stripe on his lapel. His first stage. Zack swings by Lewis's room and is shocked when it's empty. Not only of Lewis, but also all his things. It's completely stripped down to the basics, with just a sleeping mat on the floor. Isn't it great? Says a voice in his ear. Zack spins around, holding his reward parcel against his chest. It was meant to be a gift for Lewis. Spud is grinning. Zack's mind is furry with last night's events. What? Isn't it great? Spud says again. He's gone. Promoted. Zack shakes his head. Of course. Lewis has been elevated. That's good news. That's excellent news. But why does it make his stomach simmer with dread? He looks down at the gift. His nails are lined with dirt, and one of his fingernails is torn. He blinks, and the soil disappears, and his nail is no longer torn. He feels as if he's losing his grip on reality. There is a jovial atmosphere in the cafeteria at breakfast time. Word has spread that Lewis has finally been elevated, and the other residents are exuberant. Part of it is for Lewis, and part of it is the stoking of their hopes that they, too, will one day be promoted upstairs. Two men at an adjacent table each have one more stage to go. They laugh over their salty French toast at the inmates who joke around them about the bright blue pool and the craft ice cream and the all-you-can-watch film suites. Zack's stomach is still roiling when it's time to start the work shift. He's left Lewis's gift in his room, still wrapped, even though he's sure he'll never see him again. They walk over to a hall where trestle tables are set out with old-school sewing machines, and the men are divided into those who can sew and those who can't. Zack is in the latter group, so he is tasked with unrolling and cutting fabric according to overhead projector templates. They set out to work as the machines hum in the background. Usually, the white noise would be calming, but today it's as if the buzzing is inside his head. His new shift partner is a slimy man with nervous eyes and adds to Zack's feeling of unease. After 2 hours of work, a bell rings, and the men sigh and stretch their arms and backs before they're shepherded to the next task. Zack trails behind the group, trying to avoid his new partner. There will be a 5-minute toilet break before the next grind begins. Without really thinking, without even meaning to, Zack peels off from the crowd and slips into a dark room. He knows they're being monitored continuously, knows they're watching his every move, so he doesn't understand why he's doing it. If he gets caught, he'll get docked any rewards due to him. He may even get stripped of his first stage. But there is an instinct stronger than fear, stronger than the desire to climb the ladder that leads him away from the others. Zack slips in quietly and waits for his eyes to adjust to the low light. The space has an earthy smell. Is it one of the potting rooms? But he doesn't see any plants or soil. He blinks, trying to make out what it is in front of him. He inches forward, towards a large dark shape. When he's closer, he sees it's a dozen makeshift platforms built from old building pallets, and they each hold up a large burlap bag with hand-sewn, repurposed zips. Wood chips? Sawdust. But the shape of the bag is wrong. It's too long. It's horizontal. That, and the zip makes it look like a... He moves towards the bag closest to him. As he touches it, the bell rings for the next shift to start, and he jolts. Time to go. But he stays there, his body and brain frozen. They'll miss him soon. He'll be in trouble. His hand travels back to the zip. The smell is stronger now, the dark humus scent reminding him of his nightmare last night. Damp soil and something else. What is it? He pulls the handle of the zip down. Inside the bag is more brown burlap, wrapped around a sphere like a dressing. Zack keeps unzipping the rest of it, and flinches when he sees that the round bandaged thing is attached to a neck and a torso. There's a noise in his ears, a humming. It's the adrenaline telling him to run. So, it's a dead body. So what? It's to be expected, isn't it, in a place like this? The body is ivory, veined with blue. Zack zips it up again. He needs to go. They've probably noticed he's missing. If he goes now, he can still use the excuse of an extended toilet break or, less convincingly, that he got lost. If he doesn't get back now, there'll be someone in here to drag him away. He moves to the next bag and opens it. An ash marble torso, waiting to be recycled. One more, he tells himself. He doesn't know why. The net knows he doesn't want to see another one of those cold butter bodies. But the next body isn't pale. The skin of the muscular neck is loam-coloured and wrinkled, and as the zip moves, tooth by tooth, opening the bag, something in Zack knows what's inside before his brain clicks. He sees the top of the tattoo that he knows so well. Ouroboros. It's Lewis. It's Lewis. Lewis, who is supposed to be 10 stories above him, swimming laps in a crystal pool. Zack stares at the rest of the tattoo, the dragon's head, its circular body eating its own tail. He draws away, realizes he's close to hyperventilating. Then he opens the bag further, and there's a steady ribbon of that soil smell. And now Zack identifies it. Mushrooms. Forest mushrooms. And he sees openings in Lewis's skin, his stomach and thighs, like a sea sponge. Dark holes stretched by and embroidered with thriving mushrooms, where they have rolled spikes over his skin and sprinkled in the shroom spores of the fungi that is eating his flesh. Dark meat with mushroom gills. Zack turns his head away from the body bag and sprays vomit onto the black concrete floor. Water and bile splash out of him. He wants to run, but his body heaves and heaves. When he straightens up, there is a silhouette at the door. 2 guards come running, almost falling over Bernard in their hurry to get to Zack. They stumble and shine their powerful flashlights into his eyes. "Don't do anything stupid," she says. It's a bit late for that. The guards, Chloe and Samuel, move forward, and Zack puts his arms up in surrender, wonders distractedly why they didn't drop him with a current from the cuff. In his blinded state, he has a flashback of Lewis's myco-ravaged flesh and almost vomits again. He covers his mouth with the back of his hand. There are arms around him as the men guide him away from Lewis and the other body bags in the room. "Where to?" asks Samuel. "Solitary for now," says Chloe, "till they advise us otherwise." What had Lewis said about solitary confinement? To avoid it at all costs. You go in the cooler, you'll never be the same. That's if you're lucky enough to come out. Lewis said that luck and solitary do not often go hand in hand. Zack's head is spinning. He can't get around the fact that Lewis is dead. The young guard blinks. He seems surprised at the harshness of the punishment, but sets his jaw and moves Zack along. "Stop," says Bernard as they get to the door. "I'll deal with him." She looks smug, a cat that finally has the canary in her claws. "But Girdler has been a menace from the start. There's only one way to deal with him, and I know how." She runs her fingers up and down her baton, moistening her lips. The guards look uncertain, but hand him over anyway. She pushes Zack in front of her. "Start walking, prisoner," she says. "The cooler's got nothing on me." Zack expects to be taken somewhere dark and beaten to within an inch of his life. So when he figures out where they're going, he slows down and waits for his brain to catch up. Bernard pushes him forward. "Stop dawdling, prisoner." His mind is a spiderweb of questions and pictures that won't fade. Bernard grabs 2 chairs from the common room and marches him to his room, making him sit in one and takes the other for herself. The residence is empty. Everyone else is still working. He should be used to her observance by now, but can still feel her ugly dishwater eyes washing all over him. Should he be grateful that she saved him from Solcon, or does she have something worse planned? Heeled footsteps approach. Galen. She arrives and beams at Zack. "Mr. Girdler," she says, as if they're meeting by coincidence somewhere light and sunny. On a cruise ship, maybe. Cinecola cocktails in hand, instead of in an underground penal colony cell. "I do hope you're settling in nicely." Zack blinks at her. "I heard we had an incident," Galen says, but Zack doesn't answer. "Now, I don't want you to worry too much about that. It's natural that you are curious as to how Skyrest functions. I only wish that you had come to me instead of exploring on your own." "I was just—" I know. There's no need to explain yourself." She squeezes his arm. The contact, the human touch, is a surge of warmth. "Now, I see that we need to start taking better care of you." Bernard snorts. "You're half the size you were when you arrived a week ago. Is anything the matter?" What a strange question to ask. "Tell me what I can do to help you," says Galen. "It's my job to take care of you." He finds himself gradually defrosting. "I've been battling to eat." "I can see that," Galen says. "Your cuff is reporting very low blood sugar. Don't worry, I know just the thing." She makes a note on her tile. "We'll have you sorted out in no time. I don't want you to worry about anything. Are we all okay?" She searches his face for agreement. Zack wants to agree, wants to stay on her good side. "What happened to Lewis?" he asks. Galen's eyes flicker for a moment, then return to their friendly shine. Her smile is wide. "Oh, we're so thrilled to have him upstairs with us." Zack frowns at her. "If anyone deserved a promotion, it was Lewis. Always such a pleasure to have around. And the way he embraced our philosophy, well, we couldn't be happier to have him with us. We hope that, after this hiccup, you'll work hard to join us too." "But he's not up there," says Zack, and Bernard's eyes flare. "Shut up," she's saying. "Shut the hell up, prisoner." "What do you mean?" "Lewis isn't upstairs. He's in a body bag." Galen looks shocked. "What?" "Lewis wasn't elevated. He's dead. You can deny it as much as you want, but I saw his dead body in that room." "No wonder you're not yourself. If you think you saw Lewis's body, you must have had quite a shock." "I know what I saw." She frowns again, and feigned worry pouts her lips. This is unfortunate. Maybe the others were right." "What do you mean, the others?" "The residence care team. Your history during the trial. They predicted you'd need some pharmaceutical assistance." "I don't." Galen makes another note on her tile. "Just for a while. Until you adjust. Moving here can be a traumatic experience. We need you to be able to cope with your new environment. We can't have people making waves, upsetting the others." "Maybe the others need upsetting," whispers Zack. Excuse me, says Galen. Bernard stomps on her foot. Shut up. Zack raises his voice. I said maybe the other residents need upsetting. If I were you, says Galen, I'd be cautious of what you say next. Zack wants to shout at her, yell in their faces. He holds himself back. Getting thrown in solitary isn't going to help his cause. I'm going to let you off with a friendly warning. You can even keep your first stage. I think you'll find that life is a lot easier down here if you cooperate. The medical team will be here shortly to administer your pharmaceutical treatment. Maybe I am going mad, Zack thinks. I've been under a lot of strain. Those dreams, the torn fingernail. Maybe I imagined the cold butter bodies and the man eating mushrooms. Galen tucks her tile into her utility harness and turns to leave. What's the first thing he did? Says Zack to her retreating back. She turns around. Excuse me? What's the first thing Lewis did when he got up there? Galen turns on her most winning smile. He stripped off the new clothes we gave him and jumped in the pool.